Hello everybody, I am back today with a 12 by 12 layout featuring some lovely Brutus Monroe products. I'm going to start with my background. I'm going to create a mixed media background using an ink blending tool with a domed top. I have 3 Distress Oxide colors here. They are carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, and tumbled glass. And I'm going to do sort of like my own personal layered stencils. I am starting with one of the Simple Blends circle stencils. I went ahead and adhered that down to my 12 by 12 white cardstock. And then I'm taking the carved pumpkin, and what I'm doing is I am going to start with a very heavy amount of ink on the outside edge of the circle. Then I'm going to kind of smoosh off a lot of that ink, and then I'm going to come back in so that the inside of my circle is lighter than the outside of my circle. This is the carved pumpkin color. And then I'm going to take my next stencil, which is this zigzag stencil. This is from the May release at Brutus Monroe, and I am just pouncing another layer of ink over the top of that circle. And it's going to give me this lovely tone on tone effect. Then I'm going to go clean my stencils. I'm not worried if it gets a little bit over. You can see I did get a little bit of the ink over the outside edge of the stencil. That's going to be totally fine because this is a base for more stuff on top of it. For today's technique, the reason I'm using an ink blending tool with a domed brush is because when it comes to stenciling, I find that these work a little bit better than my blending brushes. They hold a lot more ink, and for this type of technique where I want heavy ink in the outside edge and then lighter ink on the inside, these just seem to give me a better effect than when I use my brushes. Don't get me wrong, love my brushes, use them all the time too, but this is a really this is one instance where I feel like I get better results when I use a domed ink blending tool. So I have the tumbled glass, and I'm going to do the same thing. Circle, outside edge, nice and heavy, inside edge, lighter, and then I'm loading up that brush with the ink blending tool with some more ink, loading it up, and then pouncing. Pouncing is key for this particular technique because this stencil is really delicate, and I want to make sure that I get a nice stenciled design without ruining or bending my stencil. Now I'm going to come in with the picked raspberry Distress Oxide ink and do the same thing, starting heavy around the outside edges, pouncing off most of the ink, and then ink blending into the middle. I am going to continue to do this with all 3 colors down the left side of my page, using these 2 stencils, kind of layering them up and creating these decorative, fun circles. I'm going to be using the colorful spring paper pad today. This paper pad is so bold and fun, and I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of fussy cutting and die cutting with these papers that I have set aside. There's my circle dies, the 3 patterns I showed you at the beginning I fussy cut, and now I want to do a little bit more to my background. So I gave the ink, because there was a lot of ink on this page, I gave it some time to dry and cure a little bit, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use some mediums to create some splatter. I'm going to use Shimmer Mist in Pearl, which is, you guys know, it's one of my favorite things for splatter. I'm going to use 2 of the aqua splashes. So I have the gold gilded and the raven. I'm using the aqua splash because I can get some nice big heavy drops with this one, and it's really easy. It's in this little kind of nail polish bottle looks like a nail polish bottle, and it splatters so nice. Perfect when you just want more larger kind of, I don't want to say splattery splatters, but splattery splatters. If you want the fine splatters, I would recommend using aqua pigment with a fan brush, but if you want, more splattery splatters, this is a really great option. And I'm going to do this with black too. So we're going to have some gold, some black, and some pearl shimmer splatters on top of our stenciling. So I've gone ahead and I've die cut all of my circles. I have fussy cut the flowers, and here are the photos I'm going to scrapbook today. These are photos of my youngest son, Logan, when we went for our yearly greenhouse shopping trip. We go shopping for flowers together every year, and these two photos are from that trip. You will see lots of photos from that trip throughout the month because I took loads and loads of them, and they're so cute. I always get the best pictures of Logan when we're at the greenhouse because it's his favorite place to be. So I have also pulled in some coordinating colors of cardstock. I've surely been building my collection of cardstock colors from Brutus Monroe. I love that the 6x6 paper pads, if you flip over the one sheet, there are the coordinating colors on the back, and they always coordinate perfectly. And since I don't use a ton of cardstock colored cardstock in my scrapbooking, I have been slowly but surely building up all the different colors. So when I work with one of the 6x6 paper pads, I can just flip over the packaging, and right there are the colors that I can pull from. It has been working out really, really well. So these photos, I've matted them each with a different colored cardstock, but they are the same photo. I'm going to be doing kind of like a peekaboo photo. That's kind of what I call it. And I've done this before where I print two of what is basically the exact same photo and then kind of layer them up to make it look like I just had these pictures and I toss them onto the scrapbook page. I really like to play with photographs in this way. I like to also, sometimes I'll do, and I've done this before as well, do a 4x6 photo and then a 3x4 and kind of layer them up on top of each other. I think that that's a really fun technique as well. I'm going to take all of these fussy cut 6x6 papers, and what I want is the look as though the flowers are kind of popping up from behind my photo, and I want them to have dimension. So I have both my photos in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the first kind of layer of flowers coming up behind the one photo. Now I'm going to go ahead and take some of the foam easy strips. This adhesive, I cannot say enough how amazing it is. It is such good adhesive. It is the perfect width, so it's not super thick. In fact, I think it's a 1 mil, and you would probably, this isn't something you would want to do for a shaker or things like that, but we as scrapbookers don't like our pages to be too bulky, and this is like the perfect dimensional lift. The other thing that makes this awesome is that it's not in this teeny tiny thin sheet, which means I can add, these bigger pieces of the foam tape and get a large section like this covered real quick, which super makes me happy because I'm not real big on the really thin pieces of foam tape that I have to put teeny tiny little strips of all the way through. Don't get me wrong, those have their place in the scrapbook room as well, but this is a game changer and I absolutely love it. Also, this foam tape has backer sheets on both sides, so you can cut it down and you don't get goo all over your scissors. Another added bonus. So we have our first layer of flowers here. Now we're going to add a second layer behind it. So we'll have, I just want to take off enough of the foam tape that I can stick the second layer of flowers behind the first. And that's going to give it this like 3D sort of dimensional look, which I think is awesome. And I love using a 6x6 paper pad in this way to fussy cut elements and kind of pop them up and add dimension, because I know sometimes when you're scrapbooking, sometimes a 6x6 paper pad can be, some people find them super easy to use. I am one of those people. Some people find them really hard to use, but this is a really great technique for using them, is to take a paper that has a lot of larger elements, kind of fussy cut them out to place them on a scrapbook page. So this is going to be the main part of our scrapbook layout. So we have the flowers. Now I went and I grabbed more of that pattern paper and I cut just some circles. And I'm going to place those circles kind of overlapping and inced among all of the stenciled circles. This is going to fill out our design. So I want this design to have all these circles coming down the left-hand side of the page with the photo and the flowers behind the photo, and then that little accent piece up in the upper right-hand corner, just to balance everything out. And so I'm going to get all these little circles into place. I don't care if they touch, it's fine. I'm going to keep kind of pulling my photo in, because there's no sense in me putting circles down where the photo's going to be and cover them all up anyway, so we don't want that. And I want these circles to look like they're flying off the edges of the page, which is why some of the stenciled circles kind of off the edge. And now I put some of the paper circles off the edge too, and I'm just going to trim off those edges. And that gives it this really kind of free-flowing look, which is what I want. I don't want it to look like the circles are contained into the page. And that is also going to be reinforced when I add the flowers to the upper right-hand corner. When I was fussy cutting flowers, I fussy cut a couple of loose flowers, and I am going to use those to help make the edges where the 6x6 paper pad ends more organic, cover up those like straight areas. And I really like how that turns out. That's always another kind of difficult thing when you're scrapbooking with 6x6 papers. When you fussy cut something, sometimes you have things that are going off the edge, and so when you fussy cut them, you end up with like half a flower and then a straight edge, because that's where the paper ended, right? So I am using some of the circles and some of those fussy cut flowers just to cover up those edges. That's totally fine. We don't need to see them. And now I'm going to go ahead and put that corner piece up in the corner of my page. For a title, I'm just going to go with flower shopping. Super easy, right? And I'm just grabbing some coordinating letter stickers from my stash, and I made them so that they're a little bit bouncy. And that just adds to kind of the fun, whimsical, bright, bold feeling that we have going on in this page. When it comes to placing this in the album, this layout will be on the right side of an album, and then when you flip the page, it will go into some of the other photos I took. And for the other photos I took, I plan on having those pages be more calm and kind of vintagey. So it worked out having this bold photo, and then you flip the page, and then we'll have two pages that are calmer, because I know that this page is a lot of cheerful color, right? It's a lot of fun and things like that. But I love it. I love this 6x6 paper pad. It's so cute. And I have been sort of hoarding it. I think it came out in April. So yeah, I've been hoarding it for a while. A little bit of a headshot. I apologize. Just a little one. So what I decided to do was, I knew I needed a little sparkle. I mean, look at those colors and those flowers. You can't not have sparkle, right? So I took some of the flat back gems, and I'm doing something quite interesting with them. I think this turned out so good. So I made a little design, resembling a flower of sorts, kind of. And instead of just scattering the crystals, kind of randomly, I am going to create an actual design with them, and create these little, almost resembling a flower pattern. And those are going to go in and around my circled border. And here's kind of a good look at them. So we have all that splatter. I didn't want to add more kind of confetti to the layout, but I wanted to add some sparkle, and I wanted it to be a little bit more design oriented. So I came up with this. I'm using 2 different colors of gems, and of course, everything I used in my layout today will be listed in the description box down below. Those links are always affiliate links, and they help me to bring you all of the amazing content that I do. And there will be loads of amazing content in June because I have set myself a goal. I am trying really, really hard to have a layout or a video posted every day in June. So those affiliate links really help me to be able to do those kinds of things and to feel comfortable taking the time and being like, sorry, honey, I gotta go scrapbook. And here is our layout all finished. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. I think it turned out so good. I absolutely love it. And here are all of the close-ups. Have a wonderful, wonderful Friday and an amazing weekend. And yep, I'll be back tomorrow. Bye, everyone.